Hi guys, and welcome to Cora's Creative Corner with me, Cora. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make chalk paint yourself without having to buy the already made stuff in the store. While yes, it's convenient and you can get it in a variety of different colors, you can also make it at home for way cheaper, at a fraction of the cost, and you can tint it in any color you'd like. The version I'm going to be using today is going to be using plaster of Paris. There are others that you can do using unsanded grout or baking soda. I've tried both of those other techniques and I just prefer the plaster of Paris because I like the texture that it gives me. It's kind of a medium in between the other two, not too light, not too dark. It's perfect. So what I'm going to be doing is mixing in my 2.5 tablespoons of plaster of Paris with 1.5 tablespoons of just plain water. I'm going to mix that first to get it nice and pasty, kind of like almost like a thick hot cereal. And then I'm going to add in 1 cup of my latex paint. That's all I need to do the last coat that I have here. You can obviously adjust those proportions as you need if you need to make more or make less. Then if you wanted to make it a color, you could just tint it with, you can grab an acrylic type of craft paint or something and put it in there and just keep adding color until you get the color that you want. I'm just going to be keeping mine white today because I'm going to be transforming this bookshelf back here into my project craft room kind of organization shelving. So I've started on the first tier here of the bookshelf, and I'm going to go ahead, make the chalk paint and do one quick last coat there before it's ready to wax and seal. All right, let's get started. So I went ahead and I have it measured to the 2.5 tablespoons. I'm going to mix it in here with the 1.5 tablespoons of water. I'm just going to put it in there, put the lid on it and shake it to get it good and mixed first, and then add the paint, shake it up. I do think that using a mason jar is good if you can find bigger ones or the sizes that you're looking for, because it stores better and you wouldn't have to worry about it drying out on you. You can come back to it. I have a teal one that I probably made 1.5 years ago that I love the color so much, so I kept it and it's still fresh. I could still use it, but it was stored in a mason jar. If you need to go bigger or you're looking for something bigger to store, I do like to use recycled coffee bins because they have a nice sealing lid. I tend to add like a little layer of saran wrap or press and seal, and then I put the lid on it, and that's lasted me quite a while too. All right, got that good mixed up in there. Mix it for a good 30 seconds to a minute, and then go ahead and add in. Oh, you see that's kind of nice and milky, makes the jar look nice and milky. It's in a good texture, nice consistency. I'm gonna go ahead, if I can get it up, and add the 1 cup of paint. All right, see there's a little bit of space at the top because I needed a little bit of space to be able to shake it up nicely. All right, returning that lid. You could also use a whisk if you have one. I've got an old whisk I like to use, and I use bigger ones because I can't shake it as much. Or you could use a fork simply. If you're using like a small something like this, you can use a small fork. That would work just fine. Shaking works too. All right. To brush it on, I do recommend using a natural based bristle rather than like a synthetic one. Like they kind of look like the little black, like the little black synthetic ones like this. Don't use those as much. You can get the rounded brushes, like they come in, the name brands that come with the chalk paint, but those are like 30 bucks a pop. These are just as effective because this chalk paint covers thoroughly. And another great thing about it too, about using chalk paint, is you don't have to pre-sand or prep or do anything like that. I mean, dust out your furniture, make sure there's no gunk, or if your kids have gotten food on the bottom or whatever, wipe it out. But other than that, it's just right on. And it also kind of fills in some of those little imperfections and stuff in the wood, so you don't really need to do any prep work. You can just kind of get right started. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and open my lid, get started on my second coat here. So this is all mixed up. I went ahead and kind of cleared my area a little bit, and you can kind of see that it's a nice milky texture. Just kind of sits right on there. So I'm just going to kind of dab my brush in. You can kind of just wipe it off a little on the edges and go for it, and you'll see it's just going to cover up and fill in any of those gaps. You could use a bigger brush if you wanted, but because I have a small mouth on my jar, I'm just using one that fits right in there. Just gonna go over. I do want to advise you that when you are painting, do like one coat while it's wet. This stuff dries really fast. Don't go back over it after a few minutes if you've worked your way down there and you're trying to come back over, because this stuff dries so fast that once you come back down this way, it will actually start to take off the chalk paint. So in order, if you do see a few gaps, just come back to it later after it's dried and do another coat or do touch-ups or something like that. It's not necessary to sit there and continuously brushing over, because that will be ineffective and it'll be more work for you in the long run. So just come back to it later. You see how nice and thick and good coverage that is. And then I will bring the camera in just a moment to show you. Just get a little on the top. Alright, see, you can't go back over it, it's going to start coming off. Alright, let's give you a little look. You kind of see the coverage there. Looks like I'm probably going to need one last coat because I want this to be a solid white. I'm not going for the antiqued brush look. If I were, I would stop after 2 coats. Most people like that little bit of streaking through, but for this particular case, I'm going completely solid. I want it to be full solid white, so that's what we're going to do.